Hi, I am so excited to be part of Mavericks Rewrite the Rules of Work conference. When I first saw that this was happening, I thought this is perfect. I love to rewrite the rules to make things better for everyone. And so it's really an honor to be here with you today. I am really excited to be sharing with you something that is deeply important to me. It's called Most True You. And we're going to cover 3 ways that you can overcome imposter syndrome and turn your unique qualities into superpowers. A little bit about me. My name is Kelly Hovey. My pronouns are she, her. I am an HR manager for a construction and real estate management company. And I'm also the founder of Most True You, which is an online space where, well, people who I like to call mystics and misfits can learn really practical ways to hear their inner voice and live in integrity with their truest self. So, a few other things about me. I'm in the Sacramento, California area. Some things that I really like are employment law. I get pretty nerdy about that. I love to empower employees to do really well and succeed in their role, especially through being their truest self. And I love rocks, and we're going to get into that, but not yet. A couple things that are helpful to know that I dislike are rigidity. I am not a black and white thinker. For that reason, probably, I dislike accounting. I got into HR because I couldn't hack it in accounting. So mad props to those who can. And I really dislike the old saying, fake it till you make it. And that is something that I really bought into early in my career. And I hope that I can keep a lot of other people from buying into that. The problem with fake it till you make it is it really doesn't get at the root of the problem that it's trying to address. And that problem is imposter syndrome. I think that most of us have felt this at some point. Uh, I really like this. I really like this. I just totally lost my train of thought here so you guys can see how real this is. This definition for imposter syndrome. The conditioning of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways. So, imposter syndrome is really when, even when we're succeeding, even when we're doing a great job, we don't feel it. And I really think that the reason we don't feel it is because we might be doing a great job, but we're doing a great job as someone else. So when I was early in my career, I have this vivid memory of standing in front of a mirror at work. And I had this brand new suit on. It looked so good. It was like navy blue and white and this great navy blue top and my heels. And I looked so polished, so put together. I had just started as an executive assistant at a startup cancer research company. And I couldn't believe that I had landed this role. And as I was going through it, I really didn't feel like I fit the role. And so my friends gave me the advice, fake it till you make it, which I did. And I did do some good things, but I never truly felt successful. And I wish that I could go back and tell that younger version of myself how I could have felt that success and how I could have got that success through really showing up as my truest self at work versus trying to fake it till you make it. So I have found over my years in my career 3 ways that I've been able to bring myself into work. And I hope that this will help you to be able to find ways to show up as your most true self at work. So finding what you love, bringing that together with what gives you life and combining that with your own inner light. When you can bring those 3 things together, you are going to be living in your superpower. And it is so exciting when that happens. And before we jump in, I do want to give a caveat. I'm a cisgendered white woman. It is not super risky for me to show up as my truest self at work. The same is not always true for those who identify as Black, Indigenous, people of color, others within the LGBTQIA plus community. It's not always safe or may not always feel safe for you to show up as your truest self at work. And I want to recognize that because you face challenges that I'm never going to know. And with that, I'm really hopeful that you can find something in this where you can show up in one way as yourself and for yourself while still feeling safe. So the very first one is probably the most surface level. And this is just what you love, things that you're interested in. These can be, a book that you're reading, research that you're doing, a hobby that you love, something new that you've learned recently. Usually these are pretty neutral. So it tends to be easiest to bring these parts of yourself to work, but they're no less impactful for being a little easier or a little more neutral. An example of this would be I was giving or doing a training with a coworker of mine, and we were training our team on transforming from customer service to hospitality as our service model. And I mentioned that I love rocks. It is true. I'm standing in my kitchen right now, and literally right next to me, and this wasn't for the presentation, I have this, I don't know if you can see this really cool rock. It's was formed out of lava. And then on top of it are these really cool green crystals or peridot. Anyway, really cool. I have like 15 different rocks just within view here from where I'm standing because it's something that I love. And rocks are pretty neutral. People don't have to believe in the power of crystals to get interested in rocks. So that's something that I brought into this training. And I brought in a piece of raw fluorite. Fluorite is a gorgeous crystal whose energies are transformative. And you can see the very first picture here is this piece of raw fluorite. You can see the purple and the white and the green and then the additional white. And on its own, fluorite is a stunning gem. But with this training, we talked a little bit about the process that stones have to go through from their raw state to this more smooth, tumbled state. And we brought that into what we were talking about with transformation. And then I gave everybody a smooth piece of fluorite, and they got to take that back with them. And the cool part about that is it gave them something really tangible, right? They could actually take this stone back to their desk with them. And it's a consistent reminder of the training that we did. For me, it means that I'm no longer the only person in the office with a crystal on my desk. I don't really think that I was, but there's now, 8 more people from my team who've got a crystal on their desk or a rock on their desk that maybe didn't have one before. But this was something that my team loved because it was unique, right? And this wasn't a gimmick. I wasn't trying to be cute or cliche with this. It was something that was true to me that I was able to bring to my team. So when you're thinking about things that you love, think about how can you bring those into a project that you're working on, into a meeting that you're having, a conversation you're going to have with your team, because that connection to you is going to be one of those things that helps build that bridge between you and your team, and it can be really powerful. So the second one is what gives you life. And this is things that fill, we might say what fills your cup, what energizes you, what gives you life. These tend to be a little bit deeper, not always. They can still feel kind of surface and feel pretty safe to bring to work. I thought of a couple of ideas of things that maybe might give you life and ways that you could bring those into work. I hope that you'll be able to think of your own as well. But think about things that you really enjoy and that energize you. So I wouldn't say that rocks energize me, right? I really enjoy them. They're cool. They look great. There's so much history to them. But something I do really enjoy is one-on-one connection. I am fine in groups, but I'm an introvert. So I connect with people one-to-one. So although I'm doing group trainings or I'm meeting with groups of people or I'm sitting with groups of people, I'm really intentional to build into my week some kind of one-to-one time where I'm connecting with somebody. So if I know I've got manager trainings coming up, I'm trying to connect one-to-one with some of those managers, because that's how I know I'm going to be more successful and I'm going to be able to show up more truly as myself in those meetings. If you're somebody who loves tea, here's a great example. You could have like tea time with Kelly, where you sample different types of tea during open office hours. If you're a leader of any sort, this is a great way to bring something neutral to help people connect with you. Maybe you've got a bunch of new people on your team that you want to get to know. Maybe, you just, for whatever reason, you want to have that open door conversation, bring something that you love to it. If you're somebody who loves the outdoors, you love to adventure, build adventure into what you do with your team. Maybe you gamify a project or a difficult task that you guys are working on. Maybe that's something that you guys can build toward, is some kind of team building event where you get to get out and do something outside if the other members of your team enjoy that. If they don't, I caution you not to push them toward that, but find ways that you can bring that in in a way that feels good for your team as well. If you're somebody who, not like me, loves big groups, loves to be the center of a lot of people, build that into what you're doing. Make sure that you are connecting with groups of people. If you've got training, if you've got a project and you can work on it with other people, and you know that that's something true about you, is you like that type of connection, make sure that you're working with others. If you're somebody who likes flowers, maybe you're a gardener, there's probably other gardeners around you. You could do like a DIY bouquet building. And this isn't for everybody, and that's okay. None of these things are meant to be for everybody. But you could have, everybody bring in flowers from their garden, and then you each go home with your own really cool bouquet. It's way cheaper than $30 for a bouquet of flowers at the farmer's market. And it gives you that connection and that community time that, especially as a leader, it's important that you be building into what you do. If you like books or candles or, something like that, you could do a swap. You could have a book swap. You could have a candle swap. Maybe it's you guys are all super into fishing. So you have a swap of fishing gear that you're not using anymore. These are things where you just think about how can you bring it to the workplace in a way that's accessible to your people and also bring something about you. Because when you're bringing yourself to that, you are giving your people such a gift of connection to something that you really love. And you're going to just show up in a different way than you are when you're trying to fake it, right? When you're trying to do it somebody else's way. And then the third element of this is finding your own inner light. And I think this one is probably the most difficult and the most scary because it can feel the most vulnerable. And it's okay if you're in a position where you don't feel like you can bring all of this. I want you to notice I'm not saying bring your whole self to work, because that's just not realistic. I don't think that's not my favorite phrase, and I don't use that phrase. But you can bring your true self to work, and you can bring parts of your true self to work. And that's what I want. That's my hope for you, that you'll be able to do. So your inner light is your personality. I would say in a lot of ways, this is unchanging. And it's really important that in order to bring your inner light, you have to know what that is. And I think that's something that's really difficult for a lot of us. I think that a lot of us maybe don't know what's at the core of who we are, whether that's our values, our personality, or whatever the things are that make us truly unique, that take those like really cool powers that we have and strengths that we have and levels them up to superpowers. So some ways that you can find this, there's like the normal personality traits, Myers-Briggs, DISC, Strengths Finders. Those are all, I think, pretty common ways of identifying your personality. And my encouragement to you would be, go back to these tests that you've already done, these personality screenings, and think about how you can actually integrate what you're finding about yourself through that into what you do at work. So that's really the big thing here, is a lot of what you need, you already have. It's a matter of going back and finding it and then integrating it into your work. Some alternative sources that people I know have really enjoyed are the Enneagram, astrology. This has been a big one for me. Human design has, I think, a lot more people kind of learning what that is. I'm not going to go into any of those right now, but just know you don't have to stick with the tried and true, right? This is the Mavericks Conference. You can do it differently if you want to. So think of other ways that you can find what's at that core of who you are. And then, of course, if you're looking for your inner light, what better place to find it than within you? So ways that you can do this are through journaling, painting, vision boards or collages, writing poetry, singing, dancing. All of these are creative expressions bringing out what's already within you. And so when you partake in something creative like this, pay attention to what it says about you. And then again, see if you can integrate that into how you show up at work, because that's where the real magic is going to come in, is when you can take that creative element of who you are and bring it into work. I'll give you an example. Astrology, like I said, that's been really helpful for me to find kind of the core of who I am. So I'm an Aquarius sun, Capricorn moon, and Libra rising. And if that means nothing to you, that's okay. This might sound a little woo-woo, and maybe it is, but it's been helpful for me. So I'm going to share it because it might end up being helpful for you. I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a rule breaker, not because I love to break rules, but because I always want to do things in the way that's going to be the best for everyone. That is something that just drives who I am. That's my Aquarius sun. I also love structure. This is my Capricorn moon. I need structure. That speaks to what I need. That speaks to what I seek out in life. And then I'm a Libra rising. I love beauty, harmony, balance. These are things that I'm always looking at the world around me and thinking, oh, there's beauty there, there's balance there. I like, honestly, that is how I function in this world. And so when I think about this as an HR leader, I think, okay, we have employment laws all around us. We have business policies all around us. I'm in the state of California. The employment laws there's so many of them. Thankfully, I enjoy learning about them. But I'm not someone who wants to take those, and I'm not a rigid person. So I don't take those and say, all right, here's the law. You have to follow it exactly this way. No, I'm someone who can say, okay, here's the structure that we have to work within. But within that, how can we bring harmony? How can we bring balance? How can we combine the employment laws and business policies with the chaos of working with people on a day-to-day basis? And I know this about myself, so I seek out roles and projects and employment opportunities where I get to do this. And do you see how much more powerful that is than simply finding something that maybe gives you a great paycheck or maybe looks good on your resume? It's such a different feeling. And I think about myself as that, early in my career as an executive assistant, if I had been able to recognize how much I love structure, I think I would have felt a lot more successful. I was successful in that role, but I would have felt it. I wouldn't have had that imposter syndrome because I would have been able to own what I already know about structure. I would have been able to own that I got to do something different. This was an entrepreneurial thing, very Aquarian. And I would have really trusted myself so that when I looked back at what I did, I wouldn't have felt like I had done it somebody else's way. I would have been able to do it in the way that was truest for me. So these are ways that showing up as your truest self doesn't have to be overt. It doesn't have to be something that everybody sees and knows that you're doing. It can be just simply knowing who you are and finding ways to bring that into the work that you do. So what is true about you? What are the things that you love? What are the things that give you life and energize you and fill your cup? What does your inner light look like, and how can you shine that in the role that you're in? Because that is going to be your superpower. I love this quote that we'll end with from Pablo Picasso. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. We could argue all day about the meaning and purpose of life. Everyone's going to say it differently. But the fact is, I think most of us are here as HR leaders, as business leaders, as team leaders, because we have gifts that we can give to the people that we work with, and we want to see them find their gifts too and be successful in their roles. And so when we can each show up as our truest self, then we get to give these gifts away. And I cannot think of a better way to lead a team than to lead a team as you. And that is such an impactful thing for you to be able to do. So one of the things that I've put together for this is I have it's like an 8-page PDF with journal prompts or things that you could think through, draw through, paint through, collage through to help you really start to tap into your intuition if you want to go further on this, if this is resonating with you. You can find it at my website, mosttrueyou.com/Mavericks. It's free. And that can be something that is really helpful for you. Otherwise, you can also find me on Instagram at mosttrueyou. I'm on LinkedIn as Kelly Hovey. And you can email me, hello@mosttrueyou.com. I would love, love, love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you are showing up as you in your role. And I am so thankful that you are here and part of this Mavericks Conference.